back to the films. Our boy Ewan went
do it.
over to Cannes. It's what year? What year you got?
It's the 76th.
Oh, no,
It's
no, for him, for him.
77th. This is from last year.
But you've been there how many times?
Third time.
Third time. But you
Yeah.
said it hasn't been the best time.
No, it wasn't. I think last year really there was some high set with some of my favorite films. My favorite film playing at the festival as well. A couple of films in my top 10, top 5, top 3. And there's maybe 2 this year that I could see stay at the top there. But a lot of films from filmmakers that, there's a reason to be hyped about them that were just a bit of a letdown, especially the first half of the festival. I feel like a lot of people were saying this is a huge miss for the fest. And then we had a couple of late bloomers. People were a bit more happy about the selection. But overall, I feel like it's still a bit of a letdown overall when it comes to what this showed this year.
Yeah, that was my general sense from just reading the film Twitter scuttlebutt, that like the first few days of Cannes were lacking like a real heavy hitter, a real knockout movie, unless you were somebody who like really responded to Megalopolis or something like that. But then as the festival rounded out, there were a couple stragglers that ended up, not just being some critics' favorites, but prize winners as well.
Yeah. Do you guys want to go over what won the big prizes to the other stuff, I guess?
Big shout out to Ewan as well. Go check out his podcast, Quiet on Set podcast. I know he's going to have a bunch of coverage there. He's got a whole list over on Letterboxd as well. So go follow all that. I'll let you take it away, man.
Yeah, it's upcoming stuff. So right now, I only have like some short thoughts. We did Furiosa, and then in our segment, what we've been watching, I talked about like Megalopolis a bit. The biggest films, the substance, stuff like that. But I will be doing every single film that I caught, which was 65 this year, by far the most I've seen, I think, at any fest that I was in person. I think only in Sundance at 2020 or 2021. No, 2021. I was able to see more because it was digital.
Yeah, the virtual year,
Virtual, that was a great year.
I think I snuck in like 60 something there as well, but it was intense, and I feel like it was a great experience all around. And we got some great films, and I will be going over all of them, and I'll have like short reviews, but I need a couple of days to process stuff and
catch up on some sleep, please. Why don't we start with some of the movies that were from like pretty recognizable filmmakers, because I think those were the ones that had a lot of hype going into the fest, and the one that at least Arturo and I were most excited to hear the buzz on turned out to be one of your least favorites of the festival. Tell us what is going on in Megalopolis, because I
couldn't tell you. I could not tell you what's going on in Megalopolis. So compared to my peers at the fest, I think I was the most negative on it. I gave it a 0.5 star, and I think it's a bit like I was a bit too harsh on it, but I saw its shortcomings in what it was trying to do, failing at every step of the way. And I feel like the people who were a bit more positive on it, they were seeing the potential of what this movie could be, what it never is to me. But then they kind of say, hey, praising Coppola for trying something new or different or whatever it is. I just think it's a mess from beginning to end. Even the stuff that they praised, like Aubrey Plaza kind of fitting in with an awkward energy. That's just that's just her, I guess, a performance. That's not to him being a good director and getting good moments out of performances out of his cast. It's really... No scene feels like it's connected, and there's a story that kind of ties from beginning to end. You get these moments from everyone, but they're so bizarre that they don't fit together in the same film. And I was really annoyed by the film because it constantly throws some visual like weird stuff at you. Like there's halfway through the film, there's like a scene where the camera swivels back and forth in like from one Dutch angle to the other one, at like a dinner scene for no reason. And then Shia LaBeouf goes, "Woo!" And like, he's just crazy in the film.
Yeah.
I was at a loss. I don't know what he was trying to achieve. I don't know what his big vision was. To me, it was big old megaflopolis.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of people looking at the film's disparate ratings and divisive reactions and declaring like, oh, we have our new Babylon. But just in reading the actual substance of the reviews, my takeaway was this feels a little bit more like it might be this year's Aggro Drift, just a truly ambitious attempt from an auteur filmmaker that does not quite land. Is that a fair comparison to make?
I think that's a perfect comparison to make. It's definitely not Babylon. It's more Aggro Drift than anything else.
Yeah, because like the style, I'm sure is firmly on display. But I think I saw Karsten in his review said that he was, into it and with it for a little bit, and then it just sort of wears you down.
It does, yeah. It's just kind of grinds you through with throwing so much at you, but actually nothing that you can hold on to. Like Adam Driver has this like huge thing that he is supposed to stand for, and they talk about it like the opposition to him, and John Carlo Esposito is more of like the traditional guy, and he's the other one who comes in and is able to stop time and like wants to innovate and has this technology and all of it. And instead of doing anything with that or actually showing something of that character, they just end up having the same conversations for like 140 minutes. And it is a really frustrating loop that has a lot of interesting visuals. If you want to have like an acid trip and it's pretty fun, then I guess go with this film. But to me, where I was like hoping that I'd actually get something out of it, I didn't get anything out of it. And then I also thought that all of the female characters were like horribly written as well. Another problem that like something like Horizon also had with the female characters in there. To me, a big miss, but I feel like it's exciting that this movie is so divisive that like, but I feel like it's not gonna find a big audience.
I'm still like really excited and eager to see it just because it is eliciting these gigantic reactions from people. But at the same time, maybe I'm going into it a little bit more hesitantly than I would have without your review.
That's raw. I love how the IMDb is at a 7. I don't even know what to call this right here.
Yeah, that's
it reminds me of my homeland. That's a Swiss mountain range.
That has to be one of the wildest
letterbox curves.
Easily. Is that even that?
It's not even a curve,
right? No. You're right. It's curves.
Yeah,
up and down, up and down. All right. We don't have a date for this guy, right?
No, I don't think there's an American distributor yet, so there would be no date.
IMAX, I guess, the single showings in IMAX that they have
IMAX
secured.
showing thing.
Yeah, so, they have a couple of those
at some point this year. But Ewan, you got to tell us what did the moment?
Oh my god!
When somebody gets up to speak to the screen. Feel like is it? Did you think there was a heckler all of a sudden, or
I did actually think it was a heckler because for some reason I thought it was a tech error and someone was grabbing the mic to tell us we're so sorry, because it happened before in Gunn. This year I didn't have any tech issues. I feel like maybe the whole presentation of Megalopolis from what they shot was a tech issue, but he got up and like the screening got the screen got smaller, which was really awkward because it didn't fit properly, and he was just standing there one line, and then he held a thing and he was standing there for like 3.5 minutes just nodding along to like Adam Driver saying stuff back to him, and he didn't really have any lines. Like that part of it felt really performative just to get big reactions out of it.
So it's not even that he had a line, it was like he was sort of involved with the scene for a couple minutes.
He got upset to one thing, and then he basically was just like pretending to take notes in like a courtroom thing where Adam Driver's character is like in court, and he's like, I think, a lawyer character. But that scene is so confusing that I didn't even know what was going on, because it took me out of it so much, as you could expect, because the house lights came on for that scene. It's like so weird because you couldn't even see the screen, or you could still see the screen, but it was a really odd experience. Also, I wasn't in the big theater. I was in a smaller one for this. And it definitely would have played differently, maybe. on a bigger screen, but it was just real awkward.
Getting a little cameo from your cat.
Well,
Yeah. There's two gun hats on the side, and he's not really happy about like that it takes up the space that he's usually.
no, go back there. Was that a
lying
Talk to Me poster?
That is a Talk to Me poster over there. Yeah, it's really in the dark. Yeah,
I noticed it though. That's sexy. We were actually going to have a segment here, so all the Intercuties watching at home, someone was going to come up and ask a question while we're actually recording right now. I guess that would just be a live chat, right?
Have you had Francis Ford Coppola's wine recently?
Is IGN trolling? Giving it a 9?
Yeah, Sidin Tadlaka, I think, gave it a 9 out of 10.
I mean, IGN gives everything a 9, don't they? Isn't that what they're known for? So
is it because it felt like you were in Megalopolis?
I couldn't say it was an immersive feeling. I did swivel along as the camera went to like in the Dutch angles and stuff like that. So like you can have a great time with Megalopolis. I don't think it's like it's somewhat a serious movie that also wants to have a ton of fun. And I just don't know what it was trying to go for. And that's just the most perplexing thing to me. But yeah, you can certainly enjoy it if you're like ready for what you're about to experience.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like a lot of people are really reacting, at least the people who like it are really reacting to the ambition of it and not necessarily the experience of watching it. But
I don't think I'll give it a half star when I rewatch it. I'm just going to say it. I feel like my experience on the second time around is going to be a bit better than the first one.
Nice.
But yeah.
All right, well, hopefully you had a better experience with Andrea Arnold's movie, Bird. This is a movie that I think was another one of the highly anticipated films coming into Cannes. I had this on my list of potential Oscar contenders for this year that I talked about earlier. How did it land for you? What did you think?
Yeah, so I think it was working for me quite well. Obviously, to keep away from giving anything away, although I feel like the journalists haven't done a great job at concealing maybe something that like stuff that happens later on in the film. I didn't really love where it ends up, but there's some interesting performances in here that I quite liked. I feel like those are the highlights. Frank Rogowski is so oddly weird, where he like behaves like a bird in the film. He like perks up on a building over and over again. He's quite creepy in the film, but he's also very charming and very he's just a delight. I feel like seeing him pop up in roles where he can just do something fun and make a really compelling character that you like each time he pops up as a supporting player. You're like, oh, I'm in for a fun scene again. There's like a recurring bit with a toad that is incredibly funny. Probably the best thing about it. But Andrea Arnold, she has a unique sense of capturing something that feels raw and those like odd moments. I know she prefers to shoot as much as she can authentically. I mean, if you look at her filmography, depicting the life of two cows and cow, or that's raw. She likes to shoot. As you can see, like they just have the camera rolling, and she starts shooting wildlife as well. Yeah. That's a couple of moments in here that are pretty beautiful, and then really
she tries to keep the films feeling very like loose.
Yeah, and that comes together in this one quite a bit, like the wildlife, the nature aspects of wanting to be free, as well as like a 12-year-old, which, by the way, a great performance from Nikaya Adams, I think is her name. What I can say about Gunn, maybe the overall selection wasn't great, but I feel like all of the child performances were actually pretty good. And I'm usually someone who's not a big fan of whenever we need to have like younger actors in a scene when it doesn't really work. I feel like it really worked more often than not this year around. And people are gonna have different opinions on this one, though. I don't think everyone's gonna love it. There's gonna be quite a few who aren't gonna connect with it, and for others, I feel like it's gonna be their favorite film of the year.
Sick. All right, I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah,
did he make the right choice, Barry? Leaving Gladiator for this?
I gotta have to see Gladiator. Which role did he give up? Like what who replaced him?
I have no idea.
Yeah, he wasn't in the Mescal role. He was a supporting role, but
Oh, that
Yeah.
makes more sense then. We did have a question. Would you consider it Arnold's most experimental film?
To be fair, I have only seen Fish Tank and Cow. I still haven't
Okay.
seen American Honey and Wasp. But between those three, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Especially with the ending as well.
interesting. You said that it may be divisive when people get a chance to see it. I have a feeling that this next one is also going to be divisive. Let's talk about Ali Abbasi's new film. This one's called The Apprentice. It is the story of a young Donald Trump, as well as his political, as well as the political advisor Roy Cohn. Trump is played by Sebastian Stan, whereas Roy Cohn is played by Jeremy Strong. A couple pretty well-regarded actors. This is also, as we mentioned, director Ali Abbasi, who has made a couple of movies that we liked before in Border, and we talked about Holy Spider on the podcast as well. Here he
Really?
Yeah, it's this dude.
Yeah, there was a protest. I was at the festival and at the premiere for that one where they stormed the red carpet for Holy Spider.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah,
Wow,
so
I think those are both standouts. Okay.
Yeah, a filmmaker who's taken a look at some international situations, now lending his eye to an American figure. So, what was your takeaway from The Apprentice?
I feel like this one is probably his safest film to date. I don't think it does anything crazy with The Apprentice, and I think it has to walk the really thin line for Sebastian Stan of not going into a caricature of something that we've seen since 2015-16 so much with him, where he needs to sprinkle in the mannerisms a bit more as we get to see more and more of Trump as he gets older, and
because he's also
gets his
playing
power.
He's playing a young Trump here, but how far into the future does it go? Like, how many years does this movie span?
I don't know if you would regard this as a spoiler per se, but I guess it's a biopic. But it goes up until the way of like his written, self-written. No, not the presidential stuff. It goes into just his autobiography. That's like one of the final scenes with the writer there.
So prior to like the whole NBC Apprentice show and stuff like that.
That's like that's where that's why it's interesting, because like The Apprentice is never part it's not a single movie, scene. Yeah, no, that's not a part of it.
He never says you're fired.
No. Well, I know he might say that to someone,
but not in the
not in the context of
The Apprentice.
Yeah. It's
Art's not interested anymore.
I have lost. What a bait and switch.
It's also like it's interesting that like the best performance doesn't come from Sebastian Stan, but Jeremy Strong. I feel like he's better as Roy Cohn in this, and
not entirely surprising.
Yeah,
hey, I got to see him. Was it 3 inches away from you?
Basically, I'll talk about that later. But yeah.
Oh.
Well, I had seen someone said in the chat that Trump actually hit it with a cease and desist. So
yeah,
marketing is going full on.
Yeah, Abbasi has been tweeting as well, going like, "Thank you for the extra promotion and stuff like that." Yeah.
But you said you enjoyed this one, right?
I did like it. I gave it like a 4 out of 5. I think it's gonna resonate with a lot of people, but it's also gonna be dismissed easily because it feels like it's not really condemning him as much. Because I think what Abbasi's film tend to do with Holy Spider as well, where we got to see like a lot of the really gruesome kills, and people criticized it for embellishing the violence and staying in it. This is also the rise of power, and it's way more about like the system that can be exploited in capitalism of these greedy, evil men that get to exploit it. It's more about that than it is about Trump. So it's more of like a cycle where it goes from Roy Cohn as like his as an advisor, and then it shifts kind of into where like obviously Trump has the upper hand in that relationship, and you're almost like growing sympathetic for Roy Cohn. That's what I saw some people like criticize the film for, that you feel like you feel sorry for him. But that, yeah, exactly. I don't get that, because like that's just that's just intelligent, challenging filmmaking when you disagree with a character, and I don't know. It doesn't need to be spelled out to you. It's not Atlas where like the whole exposition has to be come to you.
All right.
To me, it was quite strong. Yeah, I
All right,
liked it
back
quite
in.
a bit.
Very cool. Yeah, so I don't know if I was anticipating Ali Abbasi's take on Donald Trump. I would expect Paul Schrader to give us a Donald Trump movie. Instead, he's made Oh Canada, which is
Yeah.
another one of his many late in life movies about creatives in different series. I don't know. Does Jacob Elordi sit and journal in this film, or
He's being ready to be put into fan cams, as he always is.
good to know that he's going to provide for the people in that regard? But
There's a scene, yeah, where he's like, I think only in underwear, and I think Paul Schrader had a quote that he wrote something on the underwear because no one else was like was brave enough, I guess, to do it. I don't know what that quote all was about. It was an odd one, but yeah, this movie is a bit all over the place.
Yeah, so Elordi plays the young version of the Richard Gere character who fled the Vietnam draft for Canada, and now I guess is kind of looking back at it, back at that time. Did this one was this one interesting for you? Where would you rank it among the recent movies that we've got from Paul Schrader?
I think it would be a bit towards the lower end, although I did kind of like all of his stuff. I liked Master Gardener. I did like the Card Counter. Obviously, First Reformed was the strongest one, and this one would be, I guess, below all these other three. But I did like them. So I don't know. I know some people really didn't like Master Gardener, but this is an adaptation of Russell Banks' Forgone. Was also like at the end. I think he died in 2023. I haven't read the book. This was given to me by Chase Hutchinson. I was sharing rooms with him.
Nice.
He wrote for now I'm blanking on Collider and Seattle Times. Great reviews, by the way. But
shout out Chase Hutchinson.
Yeah, he gave me the book, and I haven't read it yet. But this movie is a bit all over the place, and from what he tells me, it's actually like a really close adaptation of the novel. In a way that it's a bit all over the place, where it's basically about this documentary filmmaker who has ex-students of his come by his house. He's really old and sick, and he tells stories and goes in and out of non-linear storytelling in a way, and also maybe being an unreliable narrator in a sense. And then that's just visualized by the younger version of him, played by Jacob Elordi. And it's funny. I saw this one with Justin from the Oscar Expert and with Luke, who has also a YouTube channel, and they both like fell asleep because it was pretty late when we saw this one. And then they asked me like what the movie was about, and I feel like that kind of represents what the film was, because they missed parts of it, but they got the gist of it all, because it wants to be kind of thrown together and a bit confusing. I feel like it doesn't really work because the novel seems to be a bit more dense and easier to jump around. And when we have that narrative movie form, I feel like a movie that did that great with showing us what is reality, what's the perception of a character, was the father with like dementia and stuff like that. When you visualize it this way with flashbacks, it doesn't really work as well. But I still quite like the film. But yeah, I feel like there's got to be more intelligent people who got to tell me what's good and what's bad about this one, who've also read the novel. But at this point, I thought it was all right.
Nice. Yeah, there's always plenty of interesting themes and subjects layered into Paul Schrader's writing. So I'm curious to get a chance to not just see it, but also read other people's writing on it, because I feel like I'm always finding new depths from other people's takeaways on his work. Should we talk about Guy Maddin's film Rumors? Because Guy Maddin is a really interesting filmmaker, and I did not know what to expect for this one.
I didn't either, and it's it starts off real silly, and this whole movie is like really silly, and it plays with the dynamics of already setting up the like Italian guy at this G7 summit as like the butt of every joke. And we have the representatives there. Obviously, Kate Blanchett, who's someone who's everyone's familiar with, plays the German representative. And everyone has kind of their moment to shine in a really silly movie. Ultimately, this film is going for the laughs more than it is going for like anything of substance. And at one point, the comedy is going to run dry, especially if a movie runs for 2 hours. And that same premise, I feel like, has run its term around like an hour in. And then it just kind of keeps going and going. So ultimately, I feel like it had a lot of really funny laughs. If you click on my review, I ranked the different countries by like how funny they were. And Italy, was the winner there. But yeah, it's an entertaining film. It's like just all set in the woods where they're like left alone, and there's like some kind of almost zombie creatures or they're like coming to life, and it's just them having dumb conversations with each other. Slight political jabs, but it's not that political. I think it's entertaining, but it's very slight.
Okay.
All right. Maybe the fodder for some Kate Blanchett gifs later on.
For sure. Yeah. There's some gift-worthy moments in it. Yeah.
Nice. Let's talk about Kevin Costner and whether or not he gets any gift-worthy moments in Horizon American Saga Chapter 1, which, as the title implies, is Chapter 1 of a longer American saga. We're getting Part 2 in theaters later this year. Chapter 1, I should say, I believe will be in theaters in June, whereas Part 2 maybe in August. And he's already at work on Chapters 3 and 4. These are being released, I believe, through Warner, or is it Paramount? Costner, coming off of the much-loved Yellowstone series, has gotten a lot of work on screen as a cowboy, but he's back behind the camera in the director's chair, just as he was with Dances with Wolves, which, lest we forget, it was a Oscar-winning movie. So, Ewan, does Costner still have it as a filmmaker and star, or are you not ready to sail off into the horizon with more installments from this franchise?
Go see Open Range over this one. I feel like you infinitely get more out of it, and I feel like that's a really good Western. I'm not the most knowledgeable person on Westerns. I don't think I've seen a ton of them. I probably have seen around like 20 or 30 at most. And here he sets up this saga that never gets going enough, where we are with different groups. And like his character comes in, I think like an hour into the film. It's doing the Mad Max Furiosa approach, I guess. And he writes himself into this story as like someone that like a younger character is like swooning over, and she falls for him pretty immediately. So that's already like an odd choice. And then there's like a group of a caravan that's like comes in, I think like an hour or later into the film. So it does like a storytelling that picks up different characters that are ultimately going to cross over in the future installments of this saga. And the funny thing is, I feel like it's the most telling about it, which also feels like incredibly insecure overall in the presentation of this, is that the movie ends not with credits or anything, but with like a 5 or maybe even 7-minute montage of the upcoming story. And it's
on the next episode of Horizon American Saga.
It was perplexing because you get to see so much of what's going to happen, like characters who've never seen each other in like quick little moments, almost already kind of giving you sort of a conclusion to what's going to happen at the end
on
of this
season.
It's like, okay, he just wanted to get it out there because Netflix going to cancel the second season, or like it's a gift of that kind of vibe. And I don't know what that was. It to me, it was like a freestar. And then that whole final thing just like took it down a bit to me, because it felt like so out of place. And I don't know what it was for. Was it just for fun? Is it going to have that in the theatrical version as well? Because it also wasn't like a trailer that you could show. I feel like it shows too much at the end there. And then the characters aren't really written that well. Like I said before with Megalopolis, I think the women characters are just kind of dumb, or they're just like prostitutes and dumb, or there's nothing and they're not like written outside of that stereotype. It's not like that's a bad thing. You could have those characters and they could be great written, great characters, whatever, but it has some Western feels to it, but it never goes to the heights of like some of the great Western bits. And I feel like there's so much passion, obviously, from him, and so much of his own money, one of his homes, invested in this film, that I was a bit perplexed that there's not much more than, I guess, just like pretty good production design. But then the story, on the story level, I feel like it is a bit of a letdown.
This is 181 minutes. So how is there
four? Yeah.
How is there 4 when it already feels like 4 movies in one?
He's been TV brained. Yellowstone's completely changed how he thinks story works.
We have Yellowstone at home.
It does feel a bit episodic at times, especially with how broken apart these different storylines are, with different groups of characters that we get to follow. I feel like people who like Westerns more might get more out of it than I did. But I mean, if you look at the Letterboxd curve, there's almost no one who gave it like a 4.5 or a 5.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely more on the IMDb side for people. The IMDbers. I think they're sitting at an 8, and then seems right now the average is 3. Big middle finger up to the Western.
Guess so.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe Costner didn't quite have what it takes, but another legendary filmmaker debuted a new vision in Cannes, and that would be Cronenberg's film The Shrouds. I don't know, this one got a bit of a negative reaction. We can see on the live stream the Letterboxd curve is way tilted to the left.
I think it's a bit misleading, though. I don't think it's that bad. It's just the performances are very campy and a bit weird. It's also like the Vincent Kessel of it all. Like his accent definitely adds to, and Diane Kruger, I think, is also German. It adds to this feeling a bit odd in places where like there's big monologues, or like the way it's written is very highbrow, and like the way that they talk is elevated. And it doesn't really fit with Vincent Kessel. Yeah, it's just and then I think the whole premise of this film, which is like these bodies covered in shrouds, and then there's screens where people can mourn and look through the screen. And it's not just a camera, but they're like in this digital scan thing that really is like put around them. So it's also like a tech film in a way. And it's also about like conspiracies at one point. It's just one too many ideas that it throws at you. There's also just like a couple of really random sex scenes. I mean, it's Cronenberg, so it's also kind of about desire in a way. Mm-hmm. And I feel like people went in expecting something going in depth about grief. And instead of just like looking at that closer, it's more about like the messiness of grief and never really going deeper into it.
Because I believe this is, I could be wrong on this, one of the first films he's worked on, and maybe not the first, but one of the first films he's worked on after his wife's death. And he's processing some of that own personal grief through this movie. But I heard a lot of similar things to you, in that there's like a lot of ideas going on here. I do think it's worth pointing out that the last Cronenberg movie to premiere at Cannes was Crimes of the Future. And I feel like a lot of people had a similarly perplexed reaction to that one. But as it's come out and people have had more time to sit and marinate with it, I think people are pulling out the good aspects of that movie. And I just wonder sometimes if Cronenberg is a filmmaker who makes films that are not the most palatable in a festival environment. Where people, like he doesn't make movies that are easily digestible or like breezy, so you get a lot of like very confused reactions to them. And I know for me, I don't normally know how I feel about a Cronenberg movie until I think about it a month after I've seen it.
That's why I said like the curve is wrong. I think this is going to come up in quite a major way. once more people see it, because there's a lot to chew on there. But yeah, I don't know if, like you said, festivals might not be the great setting for it.
Yeah. All right, I want to talk quickly about 2 other movies before we move on to the award winners. Do you want to let us know what you thought about Jia Zhangke's Caught by the Tides? Because I heard something pretty interesting in that he had apparently been working on this movie in some sense for over 20 years or something like that.
Okay. So yeah, this was one of the films that I missed, and then on my last day of like catching up, I finished all of the 22 competition films.
Nice.
That and Limonov, which, by the way, Limonov, pretty bad. I didn't like that one. That was the one with Ben Whishaw. And this one just kind of solidified something that I noticed off festival. Maybe it's something new that I realized. Watching films that feel like they just have a camera placed and then stuff just happens. And it feels like there's not a lot of direction given, and there's not a lot of like visual input there, and then you leave a scene and don't cut because, well, that's more authentic and that's what you captured. I hate those types of movies. I can't stand them. I want the direction, do something to like tell a story. And this movie was, I guess, at the end of the festival, just more of that. I feel like people are going to take away something more than I did. I quite disliked it, but yeah, it spans a long time. It actually is surprising to me that he was working on it for so long. But there was another film like last year that was, I think, 4 hours and 20 minutes or something like that. It was like a documentary by Wang Bing about like workers in a factory that didn't get enough pay, and I really didn't connect with that one. Yeah, Spring Youth.
That one, yeah.
I couldn't stand it. It was, and I sat through the whole thing. And then people really loved it, and they had some great things to say about it and some stuff that they appreciated. I just in the moment couldn't. So there might be more to this that I didn't see. But yeah, I didn't really like it. It's like a bit of a love story, but I never felt like it's so subdued and small that there's no real passion coming from there. It's a way, maybe a bit about like loneliness and connecting. There's another film that's like very similar where like someone can't reach someone, but they go after them, but they have no way of reaching them, and that's the one that got we can talk about it once we get to the awards, but the one for Best Director, Grand Tour, was another one where like someone, the wife goes after her husband or a fiance, and he's kind of fleeing from her, and here it's like a similar thing towards the end there. But yeah, I really felt the runtime with this one. But I mean, he's a great filmmaker for some of his other stuff. I think there's some good stuff there. But yeah, didn't really connect with Caught by the Tides.
Yes. Going from a legendary filmmaker to, I believe, a debut filmmaker. We like Noémie Merlant a lot for her work in front of the camera, from movies like Portrait of a Lady on Fire or Jumbo more recently. But she's taken up work as a director for The Balconettes, which I believe has been pitched as like a horror comedy of sorts. What did you make of her? I want to say directorial debut, but Art, maybe you can check if I'm just talking out of my
head. These might be shorts, but no, she had one in 2021.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, one or more. She's also in both, I guess, and then some shorts.
The Balconettes is fucking fun. It's so much fun.
Okay.
So it like I think my rating might even go up a bit. I think it's like it's closer to an 8 than it is a 6.
Okay.
It's a ton of fun, and it's so messy. I kind of that like what does it say, like a horror comedy? Is that what it's?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to.
Too.
I feel like you shouldn't box it into a genre per se. It's definitely is like a comedy, but then there's some I guess more serious stuff that happens. It's also a bit like, you know, with the substance there, I can't really call anything else horror because like that elevates the horror genre to a whole other level. That movie, but this one, yeah, it's fun. It's got some fun dynamics. Celine Sciamma was a co-writer on it. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, it's got messy characters. It's got a messy plot. It's got like they make dumb decisions that don't make sense at times, but yeah, in a way, it reminded me a bit of maybe not a good comparison, but of Superbad. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes you're just like you're just in it, and you don't question anything about it. It's just like, oh, this is a good bit.
Cool.
And yeah, I thought it was a ton of fun, and I can't wait for more people to see it.
Amazing.
You just had to say Superbad, bro.
I wanted to say Superbad.
Hell yeah.
Oh man. All right, so those are some of the standouts. I think things that we were interested in before the festival, but there were a bunch of movies that picked up awards at the festival that are also films that I think we're very excited to see. The movie that, in my perspective from here, that got the most effusively positive praise, the most people saying that this was the best thing they saw at Cannes, ended up winning the Best Screenplay Award. Coralie Fargat won for their film The Substance. This is the same filmmaker behind the French revenge film Revenge. What did you think about this one, which stars Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley?
I feel like I'm a broken record, but this is a ton of fucking fun. It's oh my god. Yeah, so this is like, okay, so we had Cronenberg at this festival, right?
Yeah.
And it feels like almost an attack on his territory. I was like, you know this dude who's good at body horror? Yeah, that's body horror at home. Let me show you what's in the theater.
Mopped him?
Yes. This movie had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. I thought at times that like I gotta make some better health choices or I'm about to have a heart attack, but no, this is just this movie. It's this tense. It's this. I wanted it to end the whole entire time, but I also never wanted it to end. It has a great flow. I feel like it is one of the best edited films I've seen in a while. And yeah, it's just great from beginning to end. I feel like it's gonna have, you know, those films where you get like a lot of walkouts because people are so disgusted by it or they're shocked or anything. This is the movie this year where that's going to happen.
Amazing.
And just the premise, I don't know if you guys have read more about like the premise of it all.
Yeah, it's like one teaser. That's it.
Yeah, which it shows her, I guess, with the introductory video that she has plays about like 20 minutes into the film. It doesn't waste a ton of time. It's basically Demi Moore as an actress who's like doing this daily or weekly fitness thing where she like dances and does that on TV. She's won an Oscar. The movie starts with like her Walk of Fame star, and basically gives a montage top down as it like she gets irrelevant over time and just people throw shit on it in a way that it's just passing by.
It's funny.
It's beautiful, beautifully done and kind of representing a lot there. And I think it has a ton of themes baked into obviously the just kind of disposal of women after a certain age in media where they're lesser valued, but Coralie is a filmmaker who doesn't make that the center point of like the dialogue at all times. It's just like it's very in your face without getting too caught up with the semantics and talking about it, but it fully leans into its premise and just gets crazier and crazier as you get along. Margaret Qualley is also amazing in it. Dennis Quaid gets to do a really repulsive character, like probably the most repulsive character I've seen all year. And I watched Sebastian Stan as Donald Trump. So that's got to speak for something. Yeah, this movie is incredible. To me, it wasn't the most busted up film. I think that was still like an aura overall, but it was really close up there.
I was up there online. I kept seeing a lot of split talk as well when it comes to, I guess, the audience in terms of I saw a lot of people make it between men versus women, which I find very interesting.
It seemed like not only hated it, but thought you were evil somehow for liking it. pretty intense divide between people. But you were mentioning how The Substance was a big hit with people, we have the out now con jury grid here on the live stream, and of all the films on the grid, The Substance number 2 with that average of 5.4. You do it on a 6-point scale, so a lot of people really liking it. 6s across the board, except I think did you get a 5 here?
I give it a 5 because I was like, so the thing is, for me, I don't give 5 stars on my first watch. Like, rarely do I ever. I think Perfect Days last year at Gunn was kind of an exception for it. I usually don't do that. And with this one, I was like, I'm not there to, the way that they describe it on the jury grid is like a 6 is a masterpiece. I was like, I don't know if I'm right up there, because it does run for 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I feel like you cut it down a tiny bit, make it a bit tighter, although it already has a great pacing. And I didn't feel that about Anora. That's why, like, that's the only 6 I gave this festival. But yeah, this is 1 and 2. Anora 1, Substance number 2. I feel like the best 2 films of the fest, and the one that definitely everyone should watch list.
More hardcore than Titan?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, easy.
Oh,
yeah. The body horror is crazy. Like, I think I wrote in my, what did I write in my review? I think I said, good fucking God, the body horror. That's just that's all you got to think about is like, this has got to get like a makeup award at the Oscars. It's got to be appreciated. It's great stuff.
It's good.
All right, so moving on in the awards, another award-winning film was the my
Seed of
outline is
the
messing
Sacred
up.
Fig.
Yes,
Yeah.
Seed of the Sacred Fig, which was Mohamed Razoulov's film, which had a lot of interest on it specifically because the filmmaker was sentenced to 8 years in jail by Iran, the country he originates from, and ultimately had to escape the country in order to avoid that prison sentence, as well as attend Cannes with this movie. Not the first time that we've heard a story like that out of Iran, unfortunately, in their filmmakers, but harrowing nonetheless, and pretty exciting that it resulted in an award-winning movie at Cannes.
Yeah.
Y'all remember this one? There Is No Evil?
Yeah, incredible film. Anthology, right? About 5 different stories.
That he filmed it as short films because he wasn't allowed to make a feature film. So he filmed 5 short films to make a feature film. Tell me, bro, how good is this one?
So it takes a while to get going. I felt really similarly about this one than I did with About Dry Grasses, where towards the end of that film, it really came together and was like, all the pieces were put into place. Where this one is a bit more straightforward. So it's like a family drama about like 2 teenage daughters, their mother, and the father who works for the government, who's a lawyer who basically puts people on death row and sentences them. And the story really sets up a lot of the perspectives of these different characters just through, I guess, their daily lives, before it, like in the second half of the film, focuses more on a specific instance where his gun goes missing, and that ensues a whole that just basically escalates the whole thing because he needs to find that. It undercuts his position at work. He might get like fired, and there's constantly like protests going on. So they have a lot of like those tensions within the family, and they just simmer for like an hour and a half in this film. And in the second half of the film, because this movie is like 170 minutes long or something like that, it gets to go way more and more into these family dynamics that get broken in a way that can't be fixed anymore. It gets to a point of no return for them. And it does that while really, I guess, easily telling the story of the conflict within the nation of Iran. There's like a moment that got a lot of claps from people where they basically have a confrontation with each other, and in the ways of It's not per se you who we are against, but you're within the system. So obviously you're going to agree with them without having a second thought. And that really resonated, I guess, with the audience and the growing frustration with just worldwide conflicts that are going on, where it feels like there's no progress being made. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. So I feel like this movie is going to resonate with a lot of people, although it's not going to be a knockout hit because it is an almost 3-hour long movie. You got to bring the patience for it. And I feel like it should have not gotten the award that it got, because it didn't get the first, second, third prize, directing, screenplay, acting prizes. It got like a special award.
Yeah.
And I feel like this one should have gotten a Grand Jury prize, which would have been the second prize. Yeah. I feel like that's where they got to go, because usually they spread the love around. And the film that got the third prize, which I guess we'll talk about maybe in a minute, ended up picking 2 prizes, and usually they all get 1. So I don't know why they double dipped with one film and gave this a special award. I don't know what Greta Gerwig was cooking up there, but I wasn't a big fan.
Yeah, Greta Gerwig, for people who don't know, was the head of the con jury this year. It was a pretty interesting con jury.
Yeah. And I think she was the first woman in like 7, 8, maybe even a decade.
I thought that was
the head of
interesting
it.
until I saw who gave out the Palme d'Or.
I was in the screening. I was watching Limonov, so I don't know who gave it out. I didn't watch it.
George Lucas.
Oh, yeah. I did see that. Like I was walking back to my hotel room, and it took like 20 minutes for them to give out the final award. So I don't know what they were doing.
Hey, very interesting jury.
You were alluding to it, but let's maybe talk about that film that took the jury prize as well as the prize for best actresses, which split amongst 4 different actresses. What do you think about Emilia Perez?
So I'm, if you look at my ratings and you compare it to the Letterboxd curve, I might be a bit of an outlier. I didn't like this film at all. I do appreciate Jacques Audiard. Maybe you guys are familiar with him. Mary's 13th District, The Sisters Brothers.
Great. Decent. A Prophet.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's like The Sisters Brothers has a better cast than it has like a screenplay.
Yeah.
And this is a musical. And like that's, yeah, it is. And my biggest gripe with the film is that the music is absolutely terrible. It is unlistenable. It's so bad. And I don't know where the love is coming from for this film. Obviously, it has like a story about like trans identity. I don't think that's why like people are easily jumping on with just giving support to it. I feel like there's something that they resonated with that I just didn't connect with. I also thought that like this is one of Zoe Saldana's worst performances. I'm a bit of a hating guy, I guess, in this moment, but I don't think Selena Gomez has had like a good acting role. Neither has she had a good song. So
but they're bringing back Wizards of Waverly Place for a reboot. So
she's only in a cameo. If she had like a recurring role, I would be all for it. But
so I'm confused. They gave all 4 actresses. They just told them to Mean Girls didn't split the prize, or
yeah. So one of them is like a late love interest for Emilia Perez, and Zoe Saldana plays a lawyer who helps this drug cartel guy to transition into a woman. And the way that it does that is like, it's obviously her. She has a lot of support for it, which is great globally. But for her character, she's so blindly supportive of Emilia Perez really quickly, where like this is derailing a whole life. It doesn't really make for a compelling character.
You didn't believe the character's motivations or actions. Yeah.
Even though if they're great, for like I support what she does, what she stands for.
Right.
But that's like not what we are going for when we want a good movie, in my opinion. And it's just the songs I got awful. I don't know. I was like when I got up and people were like, woo, were like clapping and going crazy. I was like, did we just watch the same movie? I don't know.
Yeah, always weird when you have that experience at a festival of
Yeah.
feeling like everybody around you was tuned into a different frequency. Of the 4 actresses that won or split this award, are any of them actually a lead actress?
Yes. Zoe Saldana
It's her movie
and
mostly.
yeah. And then in the second, or in the second 2/3 of the film, it's Carla Sofia Gascon as Emilia Perez. I think she's in the movie quite a bit, but the story is also like pretty bad. It goes from him having a lot of like power, obviously, with like being a drug boss, and then transitions wants a smaller life and wants to return to the family in a way. But it becomes way more about like doing these altruistic things to stay close with the family, and it's like it all rings hollow because it doesn't feel like the character ever has to go through something difficult other than the hijinks of them not knowing that they transition. That's kind of the premise of the film, that Selena Gomez, who plays her wife, is like not aware of the change. She did that kind of in secret. It's like, I don't know. Then it kind of undercuts the trans identity, because that would, for me, transitioning to that. But I'm not the perfect person to speak on this, I guess. But it feels like it undercuts it when you are turning into someone different, when it's just supposed to be, I guess, you going from your assigned sex to the sex that you're living. But here it also plays with the hijinks of making that a cover up. So in the same, it wants to have both things at the same time, and I don't know if they kind of contradict each other. Where like I saw some people criticize it for that, but yeah, ultimately I guess it's not reflected in the people who rated it on Letterboxd.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm that's another one that I saw, particularly given its that the trans characters are so prominent in the film. A lot of trans film critics showing frustration that all these initial reactions are coming out of Cannes are coming from people who are not necessarily part of that community. So once that community gets a chance to see it, I'm curious to see how they will react to it. For sure.
And that's exactly what I felt, that like it's not as supportive as it seems to be, because it tackles the subject with kind of in a triviality in a way that doesn't feel like it's holding a lot of substance.
All right, so you weren't super high on the winner for Best Actress or Actresses, but I'm hoping you got some better things to say about the film that won for Best Actor, and specifically the boy, the man, Jesse Plemons, taking center stage in the new Yorgos Lanthimos film, Kinds of Kindness, which luckily for us stateside is going to be in theaters in about a month. It's coming out late June. Tell me more about it.
So this one is another one that's just a ton of fun. So it's like 3 anthology stories that don't really have anything to do with each other, other than like one central one character that's tied through the titles. But it's more of like a joke. That character doesn't really have anything to do with the actual story. It's none of like the big actors that are cast in this, and they play completely different roles. And he is less on the wave of his last couple of films that maybe were a bit more widely accessible in a way. Like The Favorite, I feel like, was pretty straightforward, and as out there as maybe for some people Poor Things is, I feel like it's also still kind of straightforward. The Lobster as well. I feel like this one is closer to Dogtooth, where it's just weird for the sake of being weird. And Willem Dafoe in this, I feel like, was to me an even bigger highlight than Jesse Plemons. But Plemons is also incredible in this. Emma Stone as well. I had her written down as my pick for Best Actress. I think she's also really good in it. I don't know what I should say about it, because I feel like it's not that far away. And if you like Lanthimos, you're just going to experience it. And it's a type of film that really shines in being experienced for experience it for the first time and not really knowing where it goes, because it plays these bizarre world that it establishes pretty straight. and that's kind of the comedy for it. Like that's the thing in Dogtooth as well, right? Where you where you stay with that and you're like, huh, what is happening?
Mhm.
And everyone kind of plays it straight. There's no big reaction to something really odd, and especially that first one where Willem Dafoe is like in a boss relationship to Jesse Plemons. The more it reveals, which I don't want to give anything away, the funnier it gets, because you're just like looking back at like scenes that you remember, and you're like, what happened? So this one is pleasant. The one thing that it might scare some people away is that like it is like 3 short films that aren't that short. It runs at 164 minutes, and it definitely goes 1, 2, 3 when it comes to quality, I think. So yeah, I think that first one is probably the strongest one, but yeah, not too long off until people can share their thoughts on it, and I'm interested to see what other people take away from it. I feel like it's one that is only going to get better as you get to rewatch it as well.
Can't wait for it. All right, we got a couple more award winners left. Let's talk quickly about one that I know you didn't love, even though it got some good reviews and won Best Director, Miguel Gomez for Grand Tour. What do you think people are taking away from this one, and why did it not work for you?
I'm just such a hater, man. It's just
all
it's
negativity from you today. Jeez.
Yeah. Go watch The Substance if you can. It's by the way, I think that's an August or October release date.
A September release date. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's going to be shortly after TIFF, I believe. So North American audiences don't have to wait too long for that one either.
Yeah. Glad that it got distribution, because Neon, for me personally, here in Switzerland, we don't get Neon distribution, so it might never might never get to see it on the big screen, which is a pity. Even in Nora, right, with Neon, we don't know who's going to pick that up yet. Yeah, Grand Tour. So this one was so it's got the directing award, and the way that what's his name? I think Miguel Gomez directed it is he wasn't even, I think, there for most of it. From what I've read, it's like he directed it from, I guess, further away, which is, I guess, not why people praise it, but it has like a ton of style that it puts into it. It's part in black and white, and it's basically this odyssey of a character that's obviously running from something. You don't really know what he's running towards. You just know he's going away from something. And on the other side, later on, you have his bride to be who's going after him, and he's clearly trying to get away from her. I didn't really get much out of it other than that. To me, like, this movie kind of runs in circles over and over again. It definitely has like a strong visual and narrative style that he really sticks to. I just grew frustrated with it, especially by the female character, because she has like this very characteristic laugh that she does in like awkward moments. And to me, she legit does it like 30 times in the film. And I disliked it the first time, and she does it over and over again, and it kind of grinded me down. And yeah, I feel like this is one that I have to revisit. I'll have to read up on a couple of people who liked it more, and maybe I'll see something that I missed. But I could see why it got direction. I would have gone over. I would have picked like Andrea Arnold over it personally if I had a choice, or definitely not Megalopolis. But The Substance is also another thing where I would have chose that over screenplay if I had a choice. That or even The Girl with the Needle, I'd have given the directing award to. But I see where they're coming from. There's definitely a strong narrative style that he holds together with his directing.
Nice. The Grand Prix winner, essentially second place at Cannes, went to All We Imagine as Light from Payal Kapadia. I believe this is an Indian film that some people were really taken with. What was your response to All We Imagine as Light?
So this was one of the latecomers in the last 2 days. We got The Seed of a Sacred Fig, and then this one. And I think people were just kind of ready to jump on a film that they could say is like the new front runner for the Palme d'Or, although it was like, no, this is supposed to be the Substance in Anora. I'm sorry. And this one's it's a good film. All around, I think it's solid. It's about like the relationship between these I think the two nurses and they're roommates as well. And I this stuff that happens. I don't know. It's like, oh god, it's mingling all together in my head right now.
Well, we got to catch it too. So
what do you guys think?
I didn't catch 63 of them, but from the what, like 5-6ish that we had the screeners for, this one was good. I wouldn't say it was my favorite out of the ones that we got links for. This is pretty much covering two women who don't just work together in what is, I wouldn't call it it's like a labor clinic. They go through pregnancies. They're giving out contraception. The younger one in particular is dating a Muslim boy, which becomes a really big talk around town because it's not just that she's going on dates, but it's also the fact that she's with someone who, is looked down upon. Meanwhile, you have the older woman who has more of a higher position in the town, in the place, but her husband has been gone for a while. And what really starts the plot is that she gets a gift from that husband who she hasn't seen. And they start kind of contrasting between the two women. So one of them kind of using the stuff from her past and thus bestowing it on the younger one. And then the younger one going like almost treating her like a mother figure and having to deal with all of that baggage, even though she's trying to be her own. I thought the performances were pretty good. I thought it was shot pretty well. I did see a lot of people coming out of it like praising it. And I think having that context that you're saying of it being such a late release, that maybe that was something that a lot of people added to it. But I thought it was a solid drama. But I have a couple other ones that I would definitely put at the top from our small selection.
Yeah, the Screen Daily Critics grid, which I know a lot of people referenced, they seemed pretty taken with it, and ultimately, in their vote, it was the second highest placing film. It got a.
I think you cut out again.
The seat and the. Oh, I'm cutting out again.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. Well, I was talking about how on the Screen Daily poll that All We Imagine Is Light was one of the top 3 finishers among their jury grid. It tied, though, with the film that ultimately won the Cannes Film Festival Palme d'Or prize, that being Anora, which I believe was also your favorite film that you saw in France.
It's undeniable that one's the best. Pretty easily can say that was the best that I got to see this year in Cannes. Sean Baker. I mean, we're all familiar with him. I'm a big fan, having not seen a ton of his films. I think Red Rocket is amazing. I still haven't seen The Florida Project, but this. I have to see the other ones, but I mean, this has a fair shot at being his best, because it fully leans into the messiness that he's really great with his characters, like the ambiguity of not giving us a clean protagonist that we can root for, but like and the titular Anora sometimes says the F slur, and you're like, ooh, each time you're taken aback, it's like, oh, what the fuck. It's not that F slur, by the way, that she says. But it like, there's something about the casting, something about the direction, something about that incredible screenplay and the flow of conversation that makes this movie hilarious. And then in moments when it wants to be slower, it actually gets to have those moments towards the end where it like hits you over the head, where you're like, I was in for this whole experience that like is over the top and silly and kind of dumb, where she, as a young sex worker, gets involved with a son of a Russian billionaire, and they end up doing a quick marriage, and
of course,
as you do. And the parents aren't too happy about that.
Yeah, I heard this is like a Pretty Woman that turns into Uncut Gems or something like that.
I had the feeling of Uncut Gems throughout the like the way that the people talk over each other, the way that they're like just kind of mad at each other the whole time. is like, yes, this is Uncut Gems. I feel like it's on the same level as Uncut Gems when it comes to the quality as well.
Wow.
And I really like Uncut Gems. I think was one of my favorite films of that year, although it was a really strong year, I guess, in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic, yeah.
Also, the casting of the Russian guy who's 21, he so perfectly captures being this little shitbag. It's great. And then some of the supporting cast who is like working for the family but lives in America, the dynamics that come out of that, and like another character that emerges later on with it, they're all perfect. Like I don't know if I have a single thing to criticize about this film other than like when she uses a slur, it's like, oh, you're kind of taken aback.
Yeah,
that like,
but that's also
we wanted to root for that character because she's, but then you're like, no, it's not that clean, and that just makes it even better in a way.
Yeah, that's also kind of a Sean Baker thing, right? Is to show you kind of the rougher edges around his protagonists and not necessarily give you these picture perfect heroes to root for. And you mentioned that through the casting and through the dialogue, it kind of instantly feels of a world. And I think that's something you can say about all Sean Baker's movies, is that he's able to find these people who oftentimes don't have a history of acting, who perfectly embody a certain subsection of culture or civilization or whatever. And my feeling going out of any one of his movies is like, I've never seen these people on screen before, but I instantly recognize them.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great way of putting it. I think Mikey Madison is incredible in this film.
Nice.
She's great. Yeah.
Fantastic.
All but praise for Anora.
Yeah.
It's the font, right?
What was that?
It's the font.
Yeah, he's got the Sean Baker font on all his movies, that script writing.
There you go.
We got a question from Joe C in the live stream. Do you guys think that Anora will have Oscar chances now that has won the Palm, especially considering Neon is distributing this movie and every Palme d'Or winner except Titan has gone on to be nominated? Yeah, that is something that is notable, is that this Sean Baker film, Anora, is distributed by Neon, and it winning Palme d'Or makes it 5 years in a row that a Neon film has picked up the Palme d'Or. They just always work with these fantastic filmmakers or snatch up these movies, and they've developed this reputation. And several of those films have gone on to see some success at the Oscars. Just looking at it from the outside, I feel like Sean Baker's profile fits the profile of somebody who I could see getting into the awards discussions, right? Because a lot of times it's these filmmakers who make critically acclaimed, respected films that do decently well, but aren't necessarily huge sensations, that maybe they pick up a little bit of love on the award circuit, just as Willem Dafoe got in for Florida Project and stuff like that. And then they finally make the movie where it sort of clicks for everybody what their thing is. I wonder if this is kind of Sean Baker's moment around Anora. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go all the way. But you've seen it. Would you be surprised if the Academy embraces a movie like this one, which is an anxiety attack about sex workers?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's another upset like Uncut Gems, where that one gets shut out from the Oscars. But wasn't like 3 of those winners, apart from Titan, were like nominated at the end at the Oscars as well, right?
So
Triangle of Sadness was in there.
Triangle of Sadness.
It's like the stamp of approval.
Yeah, exactly. So Neon has a history of taking these Palme d'Or winners and then successfully pitching them as potential Oscar nominees.
I mean, I feel like this one, although I have Hitman as my number 1, this would currently be my number 2 of the year.
Sick.
I do have Anora way likelier to pick up a Best Picture nomination, to pick up maybe even a Best Director nomination. I feel like that's not outside of the picture. I would definitely give it screenplay, but the way how improvised it feels at times, I don't know if that's like, I don't know if that hinders it to be in the conversation there, but other than that, I would go for the performances too. I feel like that's unlikely, but I could definitely see it in like a directing. What wasn't like Triangle of Sadness also like directing and picture, and maybe screenplay.
Yeah,
and then last year
that's a package I could see
Anatomy of a Fall winning.
Yeah, Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah.
They got a good team behind it.
So I wouldn't be surprised if it picks up like 2 to 3 nominations at the Oscars. I would be surprised if it doesn't get anything.
Definitely. All right, so those are the award winners. I don't know if you want to quickly run through a few films that you felt like were standouts outside of what we already talked about. The Story of Suleiman. Art, was this your favorite of the films that we got links for?
Hell yeah, this one was awesome.
Great,
This is like literally a courier who's moved in from Africa. He's a refugee, and he's got 2 things going on. One is just literally trying to survive. It's got this feeling that he's pretty much drowning in dry land. He's just trying to go from place to place, renting what is like an Uber account from somebody else who is a citizen. So he kind of has to trust that if he delivers these orders, he's going to get paid through them. At the same time, it's all leading up to this meeting that he's trying to have in order to be able to get citizenship. But it's a story. It's all grounded by this performance, because it's a story about him just being able to be honest with himself, because he never has any time to rest. Kind of like you guys were saying with Uncut Gems in terms of its dialogue, this is all in its pacing. The way he's trying to get from point A to point B every single time. I thought it was incredibly directed. The way that they're showcasing like every part of the city here as well was fantastic. But I would put this as one of the best performances I've seen so far this year, and easily the best of the screening links that we got from Cannes. Did you catch it?
I caught it. I only have like from displayed in Instant de Regard. I only have My Sunshine above it, which I do have a bias because that was about a hockey player who then likes to do ice skating, figure skating, and about his coach who then kind of focuses on him. Great little film there, which by the way, I sat in the back row for that theater, and Hirokazu Koreeda was standing behind me for like 20 minutes as he was watching the film, and he like had his hand on my seat, and I was like,
another jury member this year, right?
And I think he wasn't for Instant de Regard. He was talking to Xavier Dolan right behind me, and he was like going up to him and was like, of
course,
Koreeda, we got to talk. And I was like, okay. And Koreeda was like, I don't know how good his English is, but he was like, all right, I'm here to support another Japanese film. But yeah, he was part of the jury for competition, I believe.
Nice.
Like for the Palme d'Or stuff. Yeah.
Nice. I'm gonna have to add that one.
But Suleiman, yeah, I would have picked that one as the Instant de Regard winner. Ultimately, it did go to Black Dog, which was another really solid film. But yeah, that one really resonated with me as well. I think it's a great film that, it's going to be very timely, and it's well directed and well made. I don't know.
You're talking about Suleiman.
Anything else? Suleiman, yeah, that one's great.
How about Black Dog?
So that one's, I guess, a bit of a smaller story. It's about like an ex-convict who is coming back to his hometown, where there's a conflict that is not resolved with the family member who he has killed, or he's responsible for killing, that he went for prison for. And there's also this epidemic problem in this town where there's a ton of stray dogs, and especially a black dog that's been going around biting people. And then like the government like basically comes together a bit to have like a group of people to capture these stray dogs. And it's about the relationship between this ex-convict and this black dog, who grow closer with each other. And I think, to me, it's ultimately like not a movie that will surprise you, which is why my rating might be a bit like lower on it. I think it's a really well directed, well performed film, especially with all of the dog stuff. Although I don't think it won the Palme d'Or. That one went to another film in Instant de Regard, Who Let the Dog Bite, by Letitia Dorsch. By the way, Swiss film, I think. Yeah, but I would have given. I saw the dog as well. I snuck a photo of it. I was
Celebrity
like standing outside.
Sitting next to Dolan.
Sit down, Koreeda. I got to see the dog from Black Dog. Okay. Yeah. So solid film as well.
Let's shift from dogs to cows. What did you think about Holy Cow?
I thought that one was just a ton of fun. I think this was a directorial debut as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, yeah.
And it's like a small story about like small town coming of age, where a young teen boy loses his dad, who has never really gotten that far at making cheese, and he gets obsessed with maybe winning a prize, but also connecting with other people in the town. It's also a bit of a romance that's going there, and he's a bit of a troublemaker that also has a ton of insecurities as well, and he often says "holy cow," or like in French, "20 Dieu."
Yeah.
And it's like it's a bit just like a hangout film, and it has a ton of heart, and I connected with it quite a bit. It's
I
sweet.
thought it was decent, especially because it's like you're saying, his boys end up helping him out the most.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
yeah,
great
as he
friendship.
tries to enter this cheese competition, like his boys are willing to sell their own stuff. They're going out on the
Yeah,
line. The relationship that he has, it's a love story, but also a lie story that's happening at the same time because
yeah.
he's using a lot of the people around him in order to be able to just get by. But yeah, there's another link that we got, and the title comes into play very well every time. I think they use it like 2-3 times.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about universal language. Tell me about this movie.
So this was one of the films that I feel like went over my head. That I am not the person to give a ton of input on, because I'm not Iranian, neither am I Canadian, and it takes place in Winnipeg. That is also kind of, a lot of it is just like in Farsi, I think, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's in Farsi.
and I feel like this one was packed with a lot of imagery and like slight little notes, and also sometimes jokes. There's like one thing with like napkins and like so it's really funny at
The
times.
driest humor possible, yeah.
It had a great opening, the way that it's like filmed, and I think some people compared it to Roy Anderson stuff. I feel like maybe at the tableau aesthetic in parts, but not the whole way through. I think it's solid. But I didn't really connect with it, so I got bored by it a bit. But
Yeah.
did you get links for this one as well?
Yeah, they had sent this one to us early on. I think it was like the first of the bunch that I got to check out.
Yeah.
Maybe because I saw it at home. It is very slow paced, but
Mhm.
I like the way it was shot. Just the way that they were able to capture a lot of parts of the city. It's got this really dry, that I had compared it to Roy Anderson as well, because it's got this vignette quality of it where it's the most like absurd jokes possible. There's a teacher yelling at his students. Those students they're like coming in dressed like Groucho Marx. You got people who are like missing glasses, and then you get like a completely different story, and it's about this guy who's trying to come back home hoping that his mother remembers him. They end up intersecting, the kids come back into play. There's all these little things that happen that make it this very realized world. And I think the perspective of them being you said they were Iranian. I thought they were Persian. I could be mistaken there, but just the whole idea of how they're moving within Winnipeg, I think is
Yeah.
hilarious. They do this tour in the mall, and they forgot to get the permit for the permit of the permit. And I thought that that's the funniest thing, that even when you do everything right, there's still one thing that you're missing.
Yeah.
It's very weird. It's very quirky, but there's elements of it that I enjoyed. And then it starts getting very trippy at the end, becomes this very circular story. So universal language, an interesting one, at least to catch when it comes out at home.
Nice. You alluded to this one earlier, but Ewan, tell us a little more about The Girl with the Needle.
Oh yes. Okay. So this, I think my first thoughts on Letterboxd were that people are going to hate this without having seen the film, because it tackles something, I guess, rather controversial. It's based on a true story that is rather infamous, and it takes place in Copenhagen. I think after World War One, and it's about Caroline, who is pregnant but doesn't want to be pregnant. And first she meets someone, and basically is that would be a prospect of her to move up the social standings during a dire time. And it's basically taking place during a time where it's life or death for these children that they're not able to feed because they can't even feed themselves. So it then becomes a story about basically an not an abortion clinic, but what's the other way? Not foster care, but giving them
Adoption
away.
agency?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's and there's something a darker undertone in this whole film that kind of looms over the shadows in like 1918 20s Copenhagen. This one is incredibly shot. If there was a cinematography award at Cannes, I would give it to the
They
Girl
don't
with the
have one?
Needle. I don't think they have one, no.
Well, there's the like camera d'or, which I don't know if
But
that's
that's
a cinematography, right?
that's debut feature that they give
Okay.
to someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I guess not.
No, they don't. And Magnus von Horn, I saw his film Sweat that I quite liked. I think that one was a film about
Oh, okay.
social
No sweat.
media
Yeah,
and an influencer. And I think it's one of the films that captures that a bit more successfully. I think it's like one of the better films at doing that. There was another film about that, by the way, in competition called... now I'm blanking on it. I saw that one with Carson, by the way. That was the movie I watched with Carson on the second day at the
Shout out.
festival.
The new
Yeah,
one?
shout out to Carson. Wild Diamond is what that one's called, which is about a 19-year-old who basically wants to become an influencer, and she does like very sexy stuff. Not really alluded to, I think, her doing actual OnlyFans. It's more about her being an influencer, and she wants to go on this reality TV show that she wants to book, and she's basically not an easy to root for character, but you can see where she's coming from. But that's like another take on social media that is okay, but it's kind of slight. It doesn't really say much and doesn't take a strong position. I think Sweat and Magnus von Horn is more successful with that. And Go with the Needle is a film that takes a rather, I guess, honest stance on depicting this real story that I don't want to spoil if you don't know, because it is a bit of like a reveal in it.
Okay.
But it gets pretty dark. It gets pretty dark. I don't want to say much more than that, but it's going to have a lot of people upset. And yeah, I quite liked it. This was like basically the earliest film in the festival that I could say that I really liked.
Damn.
And
Cool. Did you rank it?
I did rank it. It's where did I put it? I put it at my number 6.
Oh, you got the different what's it called on it? Okay, I see.
Yeah, I changed the poster because for some of the posters it's just like them smushed together.
Yeah.
Weirdly stretched posters.
I'm very curious with this one though. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, we just got a couple more here to hit up. Let's talk quickly about Jim's story.
Yeah, so this one was surprising in a way that I wasn't really ready for it. That surprisingly, the Cannes premiere section, which usually holds films that have some tie to France, I guess, and this one was quite good. Le roman du Jim's story is the kid in the story that basically. There's a guy who gets into a relationship with a woman who's pregnant, and the ex is not really in the picture because he's had an affair with her. He's married and has 2 kids, 2 daughters. So he becomes the stepfather of this kid and is really evolved in his life. And later on, that ex comes back into the picture. I don't know how much it says about why that is. Following a personal tragedy, I guess that's all I gotta say. It says nice. in the log line there. And he comes back and makes everything way more complicated to what the future is with this kid who has not grown up with his actual dad as his dad, and who wants to be involved in his life, but he has a dad. And it then just goes further with that, spans over I think about like 15 to 20, no, like about like 25 years is the whole story that it takes place. And it got me quite emotional towards the end. I think it had some really beautiful moments. It's not afraid to, I guess, tackle like the gray zones of this messy relationship that they find themselves in, that I feel like isn't that uncommon, that like stuff like that sometimes happens. Found it quite good.
Nice. You got an animated movie here as well. It's Savages.
Yeah, so this one is there were a couple of animated films at the fest. The other one that was in competition, I didn't really like that much. And then Flow, which was in Asataraga, I ended up missing. But this one is made by the filmmaker who did My Life as a
Yes,
Zucchini.
sir.
And yeah, it's a Swiss film, so definitely I had to support it. And
There you go.
this movie isn't like going super deep with its characters or doing like something crazy with the animation, but the story is pretty straightforward, where it is about the preservation of a rainforest and the traditions and the family that it's basically about this young girl who hasn't grown up or got taken away early out of that traditional life of being in living in the forest, and basically ends up returning to it as it's being torn down and they're being relocated and they're fighting against it. And that's the whole film. It kind of goes back and forth, has some beautiful clay animation. And yeah, simple film that I really liked because it's an easily digestible film that you could present a kid that is not like too upsetting, but it feels like it packs it into a really digestible package. And yeah,
So maybe not quite as good as My Life as a Zucchini.
no, it's not as dark as My Life as a Zucchini as well.
What about To Live, to Die, and To Live Again?
Yeah, that one is like right along the lines of Jim's story. I think it's also another one in the Gun premiere. It's something that the French are quite good with. These like free these relationships that involve free people in a way. And
Challengers
this one,
there.
it is like it had the first thing while watching it was like, oh, I gotta if I had a screenshot of this, it's like there was that thing on Twitter, right, where they like referencing the relationship with challenges, the three people involved with each other. Yeah, so it's about like these a couple that's together, they're married, they have a kid, and it's basically this photographer who comes into their lives, and it turns out that he is sick, and the guy in the relationship is bi, and there is like something of a kind of loose relationship, or at least sex, that starts happening between those two. And it goes about it in a very mature way, where it's not like about like them hiding it and then it comes out towards the end, but it's more about like how I guess they are going to deal with it, with them being kind of open to that. And then the live to die to live again part of it comes in when basically a lot of them start being affected by an illness, and it becomes really existential in a way. And a movie like that could kind of feel like it's over the top and over dramatizing that aspect, but I found it had a ton of heart. And I don't know what it is about French cinema that way, but I feel like they can tackle a lot of just like life and make a good movie out of it. They don't need a crazy premise for it all. That's just something that the French can do, and I don't see another country who's as good as it as them. And yeah, another thing that I guess is where it really shines. It says in the log line as well that it's about AIDS. So I guess I'm not giving too much away there, but yeah.
All right, so we got one more movie we want to discuss from Cannes, and it's one that I think a lot of people are going to have on their radars. It is The Surfer, a Australian midnight movie starring Nicolas Cage. Who else but Nicolas Cage? Did you have a good time with this one?
Yes and no. So it's like very funny at times, but it also gets really frustrating because basically it's a movie that for 100 minutes it's just bullying Nicolas Cage over. Like it's basically Australians gaslighting him and punching him and just like being rude to him, and that's the whole film. And then there's not much more to it. Like I think that this director Lucian Finnegan has made one of the most annoying films ever with Vivarium. I don't know. I like that scream of that baby sometimes haunts me in my soul, like with the kid. It's horrible. And this movie is like that, but it's Australians, which makes it slightly more enjoyable because like Aussies, you can't be too
That's
mad
funny.
at them. It's basically about him returning back to this surfing place where he grew up on. But the Aussies there are very territorial. They like basically beat everyone up who wants to surf on their spot. And he wants to buy a place to move there with his family. And it's basically him camping out this place and trying to get to surf and get back at them the whole time. And he just like deteriorates further and further into madness. And that's the whole film. Is like, but I feel like that's the filmmaker's style. It is very frustrating. It's also not as funny as this movie like this should be for me to give it a better rating. I think if it were funnier, then it would be better. But it's so much of the same thing over and over again. And
Fair.
Nicolas Cage can kind of carry it, but it gets very repetitive.
Fair. Well, that is Con 2024. Thank you.
In-betweens. Yeah, thank you, Ewan, for filling us in on all your French adventures, the slew of movies. And yeah, as Art was saying before, if this isn't enough con talk, there's going to be plenty of that on Ewan's page for the Quiet on Set podcast. So we'll be sure to put a link to that in the description of this episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I will be going over all the stuff that I guess we didn't talk about. I feel like Gun is going to stay with me for the next 2 months until I'm done with all the reviews.
Hey, but thanks, man. Really appreciate it.